Hey guys, King of Charmander here. Today I will be your judge, your jury, and your analyst. Today I bring to you the top 10 Pokemon used in Ultra Premier Cup. You have seen extra large everywhere. And what I mean by extra large, I mean XL Pokemon running rampant all over the place. Sure thing that you can beat them without having an XL squad. You should expect to beat them without be able to beat XL teams without having XL Pokemon if you want to be good in general. So anybody gloating that, hey, I'm winning without using XL Pokemon, you already have to technically do that before, so you're not really that special. Sorry to burst your bubble. I just see way too many people saying, oh my gosh, XL Pokemon, you can beat them. That's true, but you're also a really good player, so if newer players come in and their player skill isn't as high as yours, can you really defeat the extra large menace? Can you go to McDonald's and order an extra large meal and expect that you can eat the whole thing if you have no experience eating said food? Well, that really doesn't make a difference, but that's actually a terrible analogy. But hey, you know what? Here is the top 10 here are the top 10 Pokemon used in Ultra Premier Cup. And pre-analysis, you could probably guess why I'm ranking my XLs, because a majority of this is actually compromised to XL. If they weren't really that powerful, even if, yes, you can, like I mentioned, it's a very poor argument because statistically, they're really freaking good. And if you would like to, please consider contributing to ppoke.com. Anyways, again, we are reviewing the top 10 most powerful Pokemon in Ultra Premier Cup. Go all the way down here, you go here, and here are the top 10. And like I said, I'll be analyzing the top 10 and showing you exactly why they are extremely powerful or why so many people are using them. Anyways, let's get started. Do you like pancakes? Because at number 10, we have the, I don't get how, yes, it's an XL Stunfisk, but the size of a Stunfisk in comparison to a lot of other Pokemon, Galarian Stunfisk does, in fact, if you look at it like life size, it's like actually a stack of pancakes, or like the equivalent to like a stack of pancakes, or a bear trap, whichever one you want to call it. Other than that, at an extra large, it's one of the most powerful Pokemon in Ultra Premier, standing at number 10, with an individual rating of actually 118. And 3.7% are actually using it in their team. In other words, a lot of people are using Galarian Stunfisk in their team comps, and it's excessively powerful, for good reason. Galarian Stunfisk, as you see overall, is the number 1 Pokemon. It is the number one switch. It also has an, if you had grades, and Galarian Stunfisk was a grade, it would have grade A's across the board. It's a fantastic lead, the most powerful safe switch statistically, and it's also a phenomenally powerful closer. The reason why it's so good is because it's absolutely able to destroy the Empoleon Double Dragon team. It resists Ampharos because of its ground typing. It double resists electric types, and also stands quite a bit of a chance against things like Venusaur, Swampert, Charizard, etc. Being a steel type, it also resists Confusion users as well as Charmers, meaning Stunfisk is it's your worst nightmare. It's the complete breakfast. Do you eat breakfast? Do you like breakfast? Do you like making pancakes? Well, Galarian Stunfisk is going to be your worst nightmare, as if you were going to a Gordon Ramsay show and he was roasting on your performance. Because if you cannot cook this pancake, guess what? Gordon Ramsay will roast you on an episode of Kitchen Nightmares. Or in this particular nightmare, Go Battle League. But again, Galarian Stunfisk isn't really unbeatable. You could beat it to death with fighters. You can still beat it with things like Swampert, Hydro Pump, etc. One Earthquake will yeet Galarian Stunfisk from the face of the planet. So a 1 magnitude 69 or 420 Earthquake is all it takes to take out Galarian Stunfisk. Despite this fact, 3.9% of individuals are using it, and it is really good. There has been plenty of time for individuals to build their Galarian Stunfisk XLs, and it shows it hasn't changed. Like, its effectiveness is still either just as good as it was in previous seasons, or if you do have one, just freaking use it, because overall 4469 is a mighty number, especially these last 2 digits. But other than that, it's really, really good for Ultra Premier Cup. Surprisingly, we have a very cheap option at number 9, where its second move only costs 10k dust and a usage rating of 120%. At a 2.5% usage, so that's actually pretty dang good. But it's also in a lot of top teams. Behold, Gyarados, or otherwise known as Gary, SpongeBob's pet Gary, That's why people call Gyarados Gary, because you get the comparison. It's like a snail. It doesn't quite breathe fire because, you know, Dragon Breath Gyarados, it breathes fire. Gary can't breathe fire, but imagine a snail having the ability to breathe dragon fire like the end of Game of Thrones, which is an absolutely terrible ending, by the way. But instead of bringing back my rant and ranting for about 30 minutes of why that ending was terrible, we have Gyarados at number 9. As you see here, Gyarados is extremely powerful for several reasons. It beats all of the Dragon Breath users. Yes, it does beat Dragonite and Kingdra. If you get that lined up with it, it can also beat Empoleon. Believe it or not, in Open Ultra League, Gyarados actually can run through Registeel into 2 shields. So that just shows you how Dragon Breath Gary is extremely powerful. Dragon Breath Gary also gives a huge problems to the fire type users such as Charizard and Talonflame XL, and also beats the unholy hell out of Swampert just because it does resist all of Swampert's moves unless you are running Sludge Wave. As you see, Gary is susceptible to ice types like Abomasnow. Venusaur also puts a nice dent in Gyarados just because Frenzy Plant does so much damage. Gallade can also Leaf Blade its way to victory, and Gyarados isn't exactly the bulkiest thing on Earth. It will win CMP a lot, unfortunately, because like it's not super bulky. It will lose if you beat the unholy heck out of it, and it can go down. As you see here, it is good across the board though. Great lead, great safe switch, as you see here, and like I said, it's really good because it does beat a lot of Dragon Breath users, and Gyarados does have the ability to it has a very wonderful moveset. Aqua Tail does big damage. Crunch is able to tear through those psychic types, and it has great coverage across the board. You could even run Hydro Puff if you wanted to, but Aqua Tail and Crunch is the preferred moveset because Crunch gives you that general coverage that you would need that Aqua Tail wouldn't cover otherwise. Next up, we have Abomasnow. I call it okay, so it's Abomasnow, but I call it Obamasnow because you get it Obamasnow, you get it. If you didn't vote for Obamasnow, you will regret it because it is a mighty snowman, and it also gets absolutely knotted by fire. But other than that, Abomasnow XL is very, very powerful at the lucky number 7 overall, as you see here. It's a fantastic lead, also really good across the board. What makes Abomasnow so good is that Abomasnow is able to ramp up really well with Weather Ball, etc. Weather Ball Ice is very, very strong. It is an Ice type, so it does get stabbed. By carrying Energy Ball, it also does one-shot Swamperts to oblivion. It will also do heavy damage against things like Politoed or other water types like Lapras. It also gives Empoleon a hard time. If you do get a Weather Ball through and you do get the debuff, it's incredibly powerful. Now, the reason Abomasnow is very, very dangerous to run is because of Charizard. One blast burn will burn you down. It's not going to quite burn you like The Walking Dead, you know, when you have to burn the corpses, etc. Or, like, let's see. Abomasnow hates fire. So, if you see a firebender, and heaven forbid that you are lit on fire, you will die. Abomasnow is also susceptible to poison attacks. It also is able... It's actually quite bulky, which is why it has a 127 use at 9.1%. In other words, out of this entire list, the one that's being used the most out of this top 10 is actually Abomasnow. It's pretty tanky, able to take a ton of damage, and it puts a ton of shield pressure against a lot of different combinations. Energy Ball is also able to debuff your opponent by 1 stage, so if you get the Energy Ball off, you could ball out. You could ball out super hard, but unfortunately, the Nets did not win Game 7 despite all your superstars. So if you are an NBA fan, you know what I'm talking about. That was one hell of the roast I just did out of nowhere. But anyways, like an RKO, out of nowhere, Abomasnow will come and take your elo if you get a positive matchup. Other than that, like I said, be very aware of getting lit on fire, also by fighters. Because Abomasnow is an ice type, it does take super effective damage by fighters, which is why Machamp and Shadow Champ are super effective against it. Close combat will also do heavy damage against Abomasnow. In some instances, Obama can survive a close combat. However, if you get something hurling a Spirit Bomb at you, and I mean like Gengar, if anything focused past you, 9 out of 10, if you're not in the green, you're probably going to die. And next up, we have Pidgeot, standing at the lucky number. Unfortunately, you aren't very lucky, Pidgeot, because you are still banned! Yes, Niantic still hasn't gotten any of their stuff together, because for some odd reason, Pidgeot's still banned. I have no idea what's going on with Feather Dance. Then again, the game is really broke right now, so I really do feel for you that really love to play a game on a daily basis. I do too, I just don't play as heavily as I used to. Anyways, as you see, your Pidgeot XL does stand at number 7. I'm not going to go super into it because it's still banned. However, if Pidgeot were allowed, it would be a fantastic lead. As you see here, fantastic lead, switch, and closer just because Feather Dance is so overpowered. A guaranteed -2 is extremely strong. Pidgeot XL, if you have an XL, the good thing is that Pidgeot is really expensive. If you've been playing since 2016, you know, before we had this whole giant like virus try to go around, like the Zero virus. If you play Mega Man, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But as you see here, Pidgeot is a very, very powerful mon at level 50. It does take out all the elemental mons in Venusaur, Swampert, and Charizard. It's also able to debuff the holy heck out of Dragonite, and it absolutely, fighters hate you. Now, the chances of getting hit by lightning are many, and as you see here, Ampharos and Crustle, you can get smacked down, so rocks do hurt. Basically, anything you are weak to or will resist you, like Empoleon, can give you a hard time. Empoleon is probably your biggest weakness, just because, yes, you can Feather Dance to death, however, Empoleon technically walls you. You also need a Gust Pidgeot, so you need to Elite TM a Pidgeot. That's one thing, unless you had a perfect that you evolved way back when that Go Battle Knight for Flying Go Battle Knight was actually out. And it was very, very, it's just really nuts at how strong Pidgeot is. Anyways, like I said, it's still banned, so I'm not going to go over it too much, but were it allowed, Pidgeot would be extremely powerful in Ultra Premier Cup. It stands at a 524 rating, which means it's extremely powerful, has a very high individual rating of 126, and it's actually 2.0. So before Pidgeot got banned, there were actually some people actually trying to break it in ppoke.com, and were planning to use it. Too bad for you, because like a healthy meta, for some odd reason, Pidgeot is banned. So, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things. If you can't fix it, yeah. If it's not broke, don't fix it. But if it's broken, don't know what to fix it. I don't know what to tell you guys. But unfortunately, Niantic still can't get their stuff together after 5 years. And 3 years of PvP being out, and a year and a half of Go Battle being out. In other words, unfortunately, in this galaxy far, far away, or really... yeah, if in this galaxy far, far away, unfortunately, there is no hope. Obi-Wan is not going to save us, and sure enough, Niantic has no idea what they're doing, so they definitely cannot save themselves. Alright, hailing at number 6, we got Alolan Ninetales, otherwise popularly known as A9. No, this is not a dog, so it's not like K9 or anything. It's not a K9 or anything like that. It is a fox, and Alolan Ninetales XL, yes, it's an XL, is extremely powerful. Dazzling Gleam hits a lot of things hard. Weather Ball, Ice goes to town, and it does resist other Weather Ball users such as Obama Snow, so that's why Alolan Ninetales is extremely powerful. It's also part of the most powerful core in A9 and Jellicent in Ultra Premier Cup today, which is why so many top teams have Alolan Ninetales in its team. Actually, the top 4 and 5 actually have A9 Jellicent core in it. It's extremely powerful and very, very deadly for Ultra Premier Cup. As you see here, Alolan Ninetales is great as a lead switch and a closer. It's good in all positions with energy advantage and with Dazzling Gleam. If you can hit it and it's not resisted, it does big damage. It's able to take out Venusaur with Weather Balls. It's also straight to ball out against Dragonite, and it's also able to take out Kingdra and other Dragon Breath users very comfortably because it is a Sub-Fairy type. Sub-Fairy type does resist Dragon, so Dragon Breath does not do a lot of damage. It's susceptible to fire, as with everything is. It's also susceptible to Shadow Champ because you're able to Rock Slide it to death. Also, Gengar and other things can do heavy damage to Alolan Ninetales. Empoleon also has a very strong matchup against Alolan Ninetales because it does essentially wall Alolan Ninetales. Steel type does resist Ice as well as Fairy, therefore Empoleon is incredibly powerful against it. However, goes a lot to say that Alolan Ninetales is one of the strongest, even though despite this, it's still very, very strong. You can still beat the unholy heck. Like Obama Snow, you can still, like, straight up just chunk. Have you ever played Dodgeball? If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. Unfortunately, you will not dodge any balls coming from Alolan Ninetales if it has 100 energy. Because in a lot of instances, Alolan Ninetales, there's a lot of plays where you can literally just ball out against your opponent, force timeouts, or just put a ton of charge move pressure on them, and eventually KO your opponent just because you threw so many balls at them. Yeah. But anyways, Alolan Ninetales is incredibly powerful. A lot of people were using it. It does have a 529 rating, which is extremely powerful. Also surprising, out of the top 10 list, it's actually had the most usage, standing at 136%. Its individual rating is the highest out of anything else, or not really like usage, but like its individual rating. Statistically, in many combinations, Alolan Ninetales has been the most powerful. 136, which other than Pidgeot, which isn't even allowed anyways, the one after that is 127. So it's a whole 9% above the next strongest Mon as far as individual rating goes, which would be Obama Snow. and its usage rate is at 3.5%. So a lot of people, well, I wouldn't necessarily say a lot because not a lot of people do have an Alola Ninetales XL. Those that do have it, though, a ton of people, like, in comparison, like, in a sense, a ton of people were actually using A9 in a lot of teams. Very powerful, very versatile, and like I said, if you ball out, you could chip away at your opponent and come out with the W. Alright, at number 5, in the top 5, we got Galvantula, standing at a ridiculous 531 rating. So, Galvantula XL is a beast, and it's really, really strong. It's been strong since its inception, as you see here. It has a 134 rating, only below Alolan Ninetales. So, Alolan Ninetales is incredibly powerful. I also lied, it's not that I didn't lie, it's I didn't notice that it was so close to Alolan Ninetales rating, but it does have the second highest individual rating compared to only down to Alolan Ninetales. It also has a large usage at 5.1%. Galvantula XL is very good for several reasons. Lunge. Literally because of Lunge. Lunge debuffs your opponent, does hit a lot of things for super hard, and even if you do lose Galvantula, your opponent is debuffed by either 1 or 2, so whatever comes in can effectively farm your opponent without having a shield, or you can do a lot of sweet plays. As you see here, best use in the switch and the closer. Don't let the 100 rating fool you, the fact that it's 100, the 100th mon overall, but because it's literally that good. Like I said, with Lunge, you have so much play by debuffing your opponent. Discharge, you do get stabbed, and it does heavy damage against the water archetype, which is why you pretty much destroy Empoleon. You also are able to beat Venusaur in the one shield. That's what makes Galvantula nuts, even though, just because of Lunge. Lunge can also hit things like Gallade really hard, as well as Shadow Champ. That debuff is insanely powerful and does give you a chance to get a lot of things, especially if you could force your opponent to shield it. 9 times out of 10, your opponent will probably shield if they're pressured to, just because it's not worth to take the risk from Lunge or Discharge, because Galvantula is going to pretty much win. Now, you do have to watch out for Swampert, things that double resist electric types, like Swampert, just because of Swampert's ability to, it doesn't double resist it, it's single resist it, but still just because of Swampert's ground typing, and basically anything that's able to just resist Galvantula or do heavy damage against it will win. There's a reason why Charizard has a 666 rating. Because if you, you know how you light spiders on fire? Yeah, Charizard's going to light you on fire very high. It's also susceptible to a lot of damage just because it's not the bulkiest thing in the world. It's very attack weight, as you see here. So, you're going to win CMP a lot. The bad thing is a lot of things can kill you over time, like Charizard and Kingdra or other Dragon Breath users. Save for Gyarados. Gyarados, you will pretty much turn... Electrocuting a Gyarados is terrible. But anyways, as you see here, Galvantula does stand at number 5. The second highest rating at 5.1%. In other words, it's also part of some of the top teams, and it's also incredibly powerful in Ultra Premier Cup, standing at number 5 despite the fact that it's an 100 rating. Your ELO will go from 100 to 0 or from 0 to 100 real quick if you encounter it in Ultra Premier Cup. Alright, next up we got Scrafty at number 4 with a 110 individual rating and a 1.8% usage. So, other than the next one above it, it doesn't have not a lot of... There was either one person or two person or one person was actually using this thing. But I highly doubt that. Well, it's not that I highly doubt it, at least for everyone training in PvPoke.com sims or the data. Just because Scrafty, I've actually seen a few Scrafty in Ultimate Ultra League. You're probably going to see in Ultra Premier, or see a few of them anyways. Now, Scrafty, you might not think it's oh, Scrafty, all it has is Foul Play and Power Up Punch, and if you see a Charmer, you're basically dead. Well, as you see here, Scrafty is actually incredibly powerful lead. Not so much as a Swift because of what I mentioned above. If you get switched into a Charmer, you die. Also, Scrafty has the unique function of dying to other fighters because Dark-type is weak against fighting. And ironically, Scrafty is a fighter, so you die to other fighters, which is pretty hilarious. But it is a very powerful lead. Poor as a switch, but also fantastic as a closer. Now, the good thing about Scrafty is a Scrafty that's revved up with a ton of power punches will do heavy damage against your opponent. If Scrafty's at +3 or +4, one pup, even though resisted, will do heavy damage. And as you see here, it does do a heavy number against things like Empoleon, Swampert, Kingdra, Abomasnow, of course Abomasnow, and of course other things like Psychic types as well as Gengar, just because of the fact it has Foul Play. It heavily resists Confusion. And yes, as I mentioned, yes, Gallade has a very super strong rating yet, but only because, like I mentioned, it's a Dark type. If you get punched in the face with a close combat, it will die. Of course. It's also very susceptible to things like Ampharos, just because, like I said, Focus Blast. doesn't do too well against things like flyers and grass types just because they can pack on a ton of damage. Dragonite and Charizard do resist anything that resists counter. Basically, it's kind of like rough if you can't cover it with foul play or if you can't one-shot with foul plays. That doesn't mean to say that Scrafty XL isn't incredibly powerful, and as you see here, it's a great super type, or great tank for Premier Cup. I guarantee you will see some of them if you have not already. In fact, I've seen a few Scrafty XL for Open Ultra League. It's at a point to where Scrafty has had plenty of events, and if you got some during, like, if you've traded them, or if you saved a bunch from, like, Go Battle League rewards, you should have a Scrafty XL built if you're willing to, but it's also worth the investment because, as you see, it's extremely powerful for Ultra Premier Cup, and if you really like Scrafty, definitely worth giving it a shot for this season. Alright, so number 3 and number 2 are actually the same exact mine, which brings us to the problem of why the heck is this thing so powerful. Anyways, yes, number 3 and number 2 is actually Jellicent XL. Jellicent XL is so powerful that it actually takes 2 slots on this list just because the only difference really is whether or not you're using Bubble Beam or Ice Beam. Ice Beam is a whooping, whoopy gold. I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to get copyrighted. As you see here, Jellicent does work. It's a whooping 0.3%. So both of them are at 538. The Bubble Beam variation is at 0.8. The Ice Beam version is at 0.3. So not too much of a titanical difference. So in other words, whichever one you're using, it's still really freaking good. And both have individual ratings of above 100%, standing at 116 for Bubble Beam and 105 for Ice Beam. So technically, Bubble Beam is still better. Bubble Beam has a 6.2% usage, while the Ice Beam variant has a 1.3% usage. However, the interesting thing about the 1.3%, it's likely one individual was using that variation. So one individual using that variation, like I've done before, has broken into and has made it the top 3 most powerful mon of Ultra Premier Cup statistically. As you see here, Jellicent is incredibly powerful for many, many reasons. It's able to hit really freaking hard with Shadow Ball because for some reason a Ball of Darkness, well, you know, if you play Street Fighter, you know about the Dark Hado, you know about Hadouken, that thing hurts if you get hit by it, especially if you span a bajillion, but that's why you got Shadow Ball. But Bubble Beam is still extremely powerful because of its ability to debuff. In position-wise, Jellicent's actually strong in pretty much every position. As the number 1 attacker, it's able to do a ton of damage, it's incredibly bulky, and it will survive a whole bunch of crap if you throw it at it. So, Jellicent is just extremely powerful. Jellicent plus A9 has been known as the most powerful core for Season 8 Ultra Premier Cup. Jellicent is extremely powerful because it's able to absolutely wipe out things like Swampert and Polian. Of course, fire types hate you, especially if you get hit with things like Bubble Beam, or if you get hit by a Shadow Ball at full power. It's also able to take on the Psychic Archetype really well, which is things like why Slowbro and Gallade take heavy damage. Of course, because Shadow Champ is a fighter type, Jellicent does do heavy wonders against the fighting type meta and also against poison types. Ghost does resist poison, so that means things like Nidoqueen, etc. don't do heavy damage against it. Of course, your key losses are still going to be grass types, which is why Venusaur does pretty much wonders against Jellicent. However, with Ice Beam, or even with Bubble Beam or Shadow Ball, if you bait shields with Bubble Beam, it's one of the worst feelings in the world because you just baited for 35 energy and got -1. Shadow Ball still hits anything super hard like Venusaur and Dragonite and Kingdra. Just be aware that, well, Jellicent has 2 big weaknesses, which is, well, actually multiple different weaknesses because it's a ghost. So that's why Ampharos and Venusaur do super well against it. It's weak to electric types, it's also weak to grass types. Abomasnow, you technically can give it a hard time. However, if Abomasnow does hit you with an energy ball, it sucks a lot. Trust me. I have sent Emperor's Jelly to the Shadow Realm just by energy balling it to death. You know why? Because I got mad energy. And that's not just with my shoutcasting and my battling prowess, but I got mad energy. But yeah, Jellicent does stand at number 3 and number 2. In my opinion, Bubble Beam is the more powerful variation. So, just because Bubble Beam, you can straight Bubble Beam against things like Galarian Stunfisk, Bubble Beam will hit Charizard and Talonflame for a decent chunk of damage, and that -1 isn't a bad idea. The reason why Ice Beam is so good as well is because at a certain range, you can OKO grass types with Ice Beam. So, that's why Ice Beam's really good. Ice Beam also hits the Flyer archetype really hard, so you hit, if you have, for example, if you Ice Beam a Dragonite, it hurts a lot. And it, well, yeah, a lot, and pretty much will OKO you for the most part. So that's why it's so, Ice Beam has also been statistically really well. So Jellicent with either moveset, either Ice Beam, Shadow Ball, or Bubble Beam, Shadow Ball, statistically ranks at the top number 2 and 3 of Ultra Premier Cup. You've probably seen it a lot already. I've seen it a lot already, even in Open Ultra League. That's how powerful Jellicent XL is, and it's insanely powerful. If you have one, it's very, very good for Ultra Premier Cup. And unless Go-Goat comes out, or something like Go-Goat, or possibly Aegislash. Actually, more Go-Goat, because maybe, maybe Aegislash, but like, you know, Go-Goat. Unless there's a new Pokemon that comes out to break the meta, Jellicent XL is looking pretty good for the next upcoming season. So it's definitely a good long-term investment if you somehow have all the XL candies you need to make this man or lady of war. Alright, so the King or Queen UFO disc or flat pine spike thingy, whichever you want to call it, is Ferrothorn, standing at a whooping 539. Unfortunately, it's not 569, so it's not the mightiest number of all time, but you know what? It still stands as the most powerful in a team rating for Ultra Premier Cup Season 8 is Ferrothorn, with a 106 rating and a 2.0 usage. It's been in several top teams, and actually a lot of people I know are actually using this thing, if they have it, because it's really that good. So the thing about Ferrothorn is Ferrothorn breaks the A9 Jellicent core really hard. It gives A9 an incredibly hard time, and it basically Mirror Shot, because Mirror Shot and Flash Cannon do so well. Flash Cannon is its preferred moveset. Flash Cannon will OKO A9. Flash Cannon Flash Cannon will also do heavy damage because a whole bunch of different things, like other fairy types. That's why Togekiss gets destroyed. Or against, well, you probably won't see it, but if you see a rock, Flash Cannon will probably pierce a rock. But you also get stabbed, but Power Up in Flash Cannon is the preferred moveset, and it's incredibly strong. As you see here, it does one-shot Swampert if you get hit by a Power Whip. Ferrothorn also does very well against things like Venusaur. Other water types, and like I said, Charmers don't do very well against it at all. And things like Kingdra, just because it's a steel type, it also resists dragon type, so Dragon Breath doesn't do a lot of damage. But the reason it stands at such a high team rate, because like I said, it's an incredible core breaker, and a lot of people are using it on their team just to break. It's essentially, in a sense, even though it is meta, standing at number 14, it's also the anti-meta because of its ability to cover so much ground. The only difficulty of it was, of course, it's XL, so, you know, it's a lot of Stardust, a lot of candy, and unless you had all those tickets to get, like, Ferrothorn XL candy, it's not likely, unless you've been walking yours, or you threw a whole bunch of candy into it, that you'll have a Ferrothorn XL ready. It's totally possible, however, it just shows you just how one mon can pretty much annihilate and eviscerate an entire meta, where Ferrothorn is incredibly powerful Ultra Premier Cup. That doesn't mean it doesn't have weaknesses. Of course, if you light it on fire, it's like Obama Snow. If you light it on fire with a Talonflame, it dies really heavily. Also, things like Charizard Blast Burn will kill you. It is susceptible to getting hit with things like Close Combat, which is why Gallade does so well against it, and so does Snorlax, because Superpower will hurt it a lot. I've seen a lot of Ferrothorns used. I've actually seen a few Ferrothorns like accidentally jump into, also, you know when you accidentally queue in an Open Ultra League against an Ultra Premier? I faced a lot of people that accidentally did that, or they're crazy and they're actually using Ferrothorn XL in Open Ultra League. Since I've encountered a few of them already in Open Ultra League, because that's where I dabble the most. But I've definitely encountered them a lot in Open Ultra League, and also for Ultra Premier Cup when I was doing my test teams, or practice teams. Or just trying to test something out to see if it would work really well. Otherwise, Ferrothorn XL is running pretty rampant, and you will see it. I'm not sure if you'll see it as much as Pancake or anything like that, but you definitely will see it around. And like I said, because it breaks so many combinations, Ferrothorn XL is a beast, and it's extremely strong for Ultra Premier Cup, which I'm not surprised at why it is so powerful and has such a high team rating for Season 8. For the foreseeable future, Ferrothorn XL, unless a new XL does come out, Ferrothorn XL will be very good long-term as an XL for Ultra Premier Cup. And that's GG's. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This data is this data came out, or was recently updated at June 16th. However, 3 days later, this data is still pretty prevalent. I've definitely done a little bit of research, and it's still these teams, I can definitely confidently tell you that these probably still are the top 10 mons still floating around. So again, these teams are incredibly powerful, and well, teams with these mons are incredibly powerful. They're obviously beatable, however, the thing about it is that XL Pokemon, the fact that out of the top 10 combinations, our top 10 top Pokemon, the only one that's not XL was literally Gyarados. So yes, you can make the argument that XL Pokemon aren't very powerful. However, the reason why you are beating them with Pokemon is because you have good energy management or just a really good player, like I said. Really good players can navigate around XLs. However, just because you can navigate around them and just because you found proper team comps that don't have XLs and you're doing well against them, that doesn't mean that XL, non-XL Pokemon weren't there to begin with. Like, you had to make, if you were going to make rank 10 before, you had to not, it was without XL Pokemon, so it's impressive, but as a master team builder and analyst and myself, it's really not that impressive. There's a lot of things out there that can beat XLs even if you don't use XL. I don't agree, but it still shows you that how 9 out of 10 of the top 10, only one of them is non-XL. So the barrier to entry, obviously, there's a problem with that. Like, any meta analyst can tell you there is a problem with that. Being able to beat XLs is a poor argument, because that still doesn't lower the barrier to entry for anyone that's trying to come into Go Battle League. In a lot of other games, you could simply play the game for a little bit, level up to a certain player, and then start playing ranked. In Pokemon Go Battle League, you have to sell your liver, an arm, and a leg, or donate 69 liters of blood so that you can have a mon ready for Ultra Premier Cup, or just like the most, just like not, just like to like even have one. Because they're extremely powerful, and they do really well for a reason. So, yes, you can beat them without XLs, but still, they're extremely powerful, and it just goes to show you how much I dislike the meta as an analyst. Eventually, XLs, unless something is done against them, about them, will take over the meta. Well, they'll always be that, like, twilight, that, like, 20-80 of, like, 80 people using them, 20% not using them, but it's just not a healthy meta. No other game's gonna ask you to spend this much time just to build any team to be competitive in the format. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, I hope this does help you out. The data is still very prevalent. Like I told you, if you know about this, you'll still definitely see all of these Pokemon. Very high usage in Ultra Premier Cup or even in Open Ultra League, because I've seen a few Jellicent XLs and Ferrothorns in Open Ultra League already. Good luck in Go Battle League sets. I hope you guys are doing well. I also forgot to mention, if you would like to, please subscribe. I'm almost at 2K subs, so by the time you are done listening to the sound of my voice, you will be able to sub. For those of you that are subbed, I really do appreciate you. I appreciate all the support, and because you guys are almost at 2K subs, if you are not subbed yet, if all you really have to do is just put your mouse above that, you see that box that says subscribe at the bottom right? All you have to do is put your mouse over it, and all it will do is a tab will come up that says subscribe. You can easily subscribe by clicking the tab right there right away, and boom, you're subscribed. By the time you're, like I said, by the time you're listening to the sound of my voice, you can easily subscribe, and I'm almost at 2K subs, so I really do appreciate support, and I appreciate all my longtime subs. If you just newly subbed, I really do appreciate the sub as well. And hopefully you guys are doing well in your Go Battle League sets. And I will see you guys on the next video.